Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liberty Bytes. This is Matt McGowan sitting in for William Gadsden. As I was preparing to record this week's show, news broke about a synagogue shooting out in California perpetrated by a 19-year-old man with hate in his heart. Now, predictably, this horrific tragedy is already being politicized by many on the anti-gun left, who are using this as an example of why the government should do more to restrict firearm ownership. Now, for the purposes of this particular conversation, we're going to ignore the fact that this particular incident was indeed halted by someone in the congregation with a weapon of their own, and instead we're going to focus on the government's role in protecting citizens from tragedies such as this, and not only their role, but their ability to do so effectively. Now, every time a tragedy such as this occurs, we often hear well-intentioned and some not so well-intentioned people asking for the government to do something about it. And as we mentioned earlier, more often than not, that something is placing further restrictions on gun ownership. Now, even people who aren't seeking an outright gun ban still seem to think that the government should do something to curb these types of incidents. The problem with this line of thinking, however, is that it absolves from responsibility the only people who actually have the power to do something about tragedies such as this. And that is each and every one of us. You, me, every single person listening, and the millions more who aren't. We are the only people who can prevent incidents such as these from occurring. Now, many of you may be wondering what exactly I mean by that. And I think in order to ascertain that, you need to look at this particular case as an example. Here you have a 19-year-old kid. Now, the information out at this time is pretty limited, but by all accounts, it seems like he was a pretty normal kid who did pretty normal kid stuff. So what was it that took him from a normal teenager to somebody capable of committing murder? Now, by his own admission, it appears this kid spent a lot of time online, particularly in political groups. There's reports of things that he wrote on 4chan, 8chan, Facebook, and numerous other places online. Places where if you spend any time online discussing politics, as I'm sure many of you do, you know there's a lot of awful shit being posted on a daily basis. In fact, the original idea for this show this week was to discuss how hateful speech online is hurting the liberty movement. But really, if you look at it, it's infected politics on all sides. Left, right, all points outside and in between. Political discourse has been replaced by just hate and vitriol. Even decent people resort to dehumanizing their political opponents online. Now, before you take that as we need to police speech online, that's not the point here at all. The point is that many of us engage in the same type of political discourse online. Oftentimes it's presented in the context of humor, but a lot of times it's not. You can spend 5 minutes in the comment section of any one of our posts on Think Liberty and find examples of just what I'm talking about. Decent people or otherwise seemingly decent people who, when presented with an opinion counter to their own, turn to the process of belittling, dehumanizing, and berating the hell out of anyone who disagrees with them. And if you read the manifesto that this kid left online, it's pretty clear that a lot of these themes that you'll see in some of these message boards and groups profoundly influenced his thought process and his actions. Now, many of you are no doubt saying, well, yes, they're online, particularly in the political groups, it's a cesspool. Yes, that's very true. But what can I do about it? And even more importantly, what can I, the average citizen, do to stop the plague of senseless violence that continues to hamper our nation? And for me, the answer to that question lies within the most libertarian of spheres, the power of the individual. It's time for all of us to take responsibility for what's become of public discourse. When you look at the perpetrator of the crime in San Diego, it's clear this kid was not born with this type of hate in his heart. And it seems pretty evident that it didn't come from home. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that anyone police online communities, but rather that we police ourselves. If someone such as this kid is influenced by the things he reads online, then he's equally capable of being influenced by the rest of us speaking out against the ridiculous nonsense that was found in his manifesto. In fact, for those of us who are active in politics on social media, we're no doubt presented with countless opportunities every day to engage in discourse that can help prevent people from going down the path of hatred and ignorance, which, try as we might, we have proven time and time again that we cannot simply legislate away. So how do we deal with it? Simple, really. Instead of waiting for someone else or expecting someone else to take care of it, we take care of it ourselves. We take individual responsibility and we engage. We engage and we take responsibility for how we engage, not only in the arena of politics, but in general, how we engage day to day with our fellow man. Is it a magic cure to the problem of violence plaguing the nation? No. But taking responsibility for how we interact with others and speaking out against hatred and ignorance in a respectful and educational manner will do more to prevent these types of incidents from occurring than passing legislation and taking away our rights ever could. It is exactly the free market, individually empowering solution that a problem of this magnitude both needs and deserves. And the best part about it is we can enact it at any time ourselves, independent of the government. You want to stop violence and ignorance from continuing to be a stain on our nation? Then the answer is simple. Don't wait for a solution. Be the solution. Engage and teach your kids to do the same. This is Matt McGowan for Liberty Bytes on the Think Liberty Network. Thanks for listening.